Hello and welcome to this lab demonstration on using host profiles. At the beginning of this lab, we already need to be familiar with the concept of VMware vSphere host profiles. In this lab, we will create, export and import a host profile, then we will duplicate and edit a host profile and attach an ESXi host to a host profile. After that, we are going to run an initial compliance check and remediate a possible configuration drift. And finally, we are going to detach a host profile. I'm sure I provided you enough good reasons to watch the following video on using host profiles. So let's get started. In our first task, we need to log into our vSphere client, and then we are going to reconfigure some parameters of our ESXi hosts to proceed with the host profile configuration of those hosts. So at first, we need to remove an iSCSI network port binding from our SA ESXi 01 vClass local. So let's do it. Let's go to our menu, hosts and clusters. Now we need to choose our SA ESXi 01 vClass local server. We need to go to a configure tab of it. And here we need to find the section which is called storage and storage adapters. So let's go here, storage adapters. We need to find our iSCSI software adapter VM-HBA65. Then we need to go to a network port binding section here. And now we are going to remove all the configuration of this particular network port binding of this particular host. So what we are going to do, we are going to click all the objects here and click remove. We are alerted about the removing of VM kernel port bindings will also remove all active paths to the iSCSI targets. It's normal here. So let's click OK. Now we need to rescan storage button for our host to be able to redefine its storage devices and VM kernel connections. So let's verify that this task was completed. Now it's okay. Next, we are going to remove a VM kernel number 1 from the SA ESXi 01 host. So now we are going to go to configure networking VM kernel adapters, configure networking VM kernel adapters. Let's find our VMK1 here. So what we are going to do next, we are going to choose it and we are going to remove it from here. Let's click on remove. Let's verify that this process has completed. Now, what we are going to do next, we are going to reconfigure the NTP configuration of this particular host. We are going to break it a bit. So let's go to our hosts and clusters. We are already there. Let's find our SA ESXi 02 vClass local. Let's click on it. Let's go to configure. Let's scroll down a bit and find our time configuration section here. Let's find the network time protocol section and click on edit. And let's change the NTP server to some specific value. 1, 2, 3, 4. We are going to use this particular IP address here in our lab purposes. We are intentionally configuring an incorrect value for this particular exercise. We will repair it a bit later. So let's click on OK. Let's wait a bit. Now we can see that the IP address has been changed. Now what we are going to do, we are going to configure a new software iSCSI adapter for our SA ESXi 02 vClass local host. So let's go to a configure section, let's go to a storage adapter section here, and let's add a new software adapter to our host. So what we are going to do next, we are going to add a software iSCSI adapter. Let's click on OK. Now we can see that this adapter has appeared here, VMHBA65, with a particular identifier IQN here, and its status is in online state right now. Now let's go to let's click on this particular adapter and choose the Dynamic Discovery tab in the lower part of the right side section. Let's click on Add. And now we are going to add a specific target to our network adapter. Let's type here 172.20.10.15 and click OK. The last thing we need to do, we need to rescan storage by using this adapter. Let's click on OK. And now this task is completed. What we are going to do next? Now we are going to create and export a host profile. So let's go to a menu. Now we need to go to Policies and Profiles. We need to select Host Profiles section on the left navigation pane. And now we are going to extract a host profile from our specific host. Let's click on an Extract Host Profile. Let's choose our SA ESXi01 vClass local from here. Let's click on Next. Now we need to type a name for this particular host profile. Let's call it Extracted Profile SA ESXi01. We do not need to write a description right now, so let's click on Finish. We just need to wait a bit for this particular host profile to be extracted from our host. Let's wait a couple of seconds. Now we can see that this host profile has been exported. Now we need to right click on it and choose an option to export host profile. Let's click OK on our security administrator passwords information that this is not exported with this profile. It's OK, so let's click on Save. Let's save this file on our desktop as the let's choose the desktop. Let's verify the name Extracted Profile SA6i01 Host Profile VPF. Okay, let's click on Save. Now, in our next task, we are going to import a host profile. So let's go back to our host profile section and click on Import Host Profile button right now. So let's click on it. Let's choose the profile location. Let's find an extracted profile SA6i01 host profile. Let's open it. Let's name this profile Imported Profile SA ESXi01 and click OK. Again, we need to wait a bit, just for a couple of seconds, for this profile to be imported to our vCenter server. Now we can see that it is imported right now. There are no host information associated with this profile yet. We are going to change it a bit later. Now, what we are going to do next? We are going to duplicate and edit a host profile. So what we are going to do? We are going to choose our imported host profile, and now we are going to duplicate it. Let's call the duplicate basic host configuration. Now let's click on OK. Let's wait a bit for us to see that this profile was created. Now we can see the basic host configuration profile here. Now we need to reconfigure it. Let's click on this host profile. Now we need to edit it a bit. So what we are going to do here, we are going to choose some settings of this host profile. At first, we are going to go to security and services. We are going to deselect this part of host profile configuration. And we are going to deselect the storage configuration information to shorten the compliance check phase of this host profile during our next tasks a bit. So let's click on save. Now this host profile needs to be reconfigured. We are going to wait again for just a couple of seconds. A couple of seconds more, and yes, here we can see that this task was completed. So now we are going to attach an ESXi host to a host profile. Again, what we are going to do next? We are going to choose our basic host configuration profile. Let's right click on it. And now we need to choose an option which is called attach, detach hosts and clusters. Now we need to choose our SA ESXi02 vClass local and click on save. So let's choose our SA ESXi02, click on save. Now we can see that one of our hosts, 02, has been assigned to this particular basic host configuration host profile, and currently it is in unknown state according to this host profile. So let's continue with our next task. Now we are going to run an initial compliance check. We are going to compare the configuration of our SA ESXi02 host with this particular host profile. So what we are going to do, we are going to our host profile basic configuration. Let's go to a monitor tab of this host profile. What we are going to do, we are going to select our SA ESXi02 vClass local, and now we are going to click on check compliance for this particular host. Let's wait a bit for our vCenter to be able to verify, and now we can see that our SA ESXi02 vClass local host is in a non-compliant host profile compliance state because of some configurational issues for our particular host. The problem here can be linked to our date and time configuration. I have clicked on the host profile compliance non-compliant state, and now I can see that the category of the problem is date and time configuration. So we can choose that, we can correct this configuration. As we may remember, we have specifically changed the configuration of our NTP server from the host profile verified value of 172.20.10.10 to a specific value 1234. So let's reconfigure it back again on our SA ESXi02 host. Let's go to menu, let's go to hosts and clusters. Let's go to our SA ESXi02 configure. Let's scroll down a bit. Time and configuration. Let's find the NTP configuration here. Let's edit it. Let's change back our 1234 to 172.20.10.10 and click OK. Let's wait a bit. Now it has been changed. So let's go back to policies and profiles, host profiles. Again, let's click on our basic host configuration. Let's choose our SA ESXi02 vClass local again and click on check compliance. Let's wait a bit. And now this host is in a compliant state because of the situation where we have reconfigured our NTP configuration for this particular host. Now it's okay. So let's introduce a little configuration drift in our environment. Let's go to a menu, networking. Now what we are going to do, we are going to remove our VMNIC2 adapter from a VDS DVS lab. So let's go to our SA data center, our DVS lab. Let's right click on it and let's click add and manage hosts here. Now we need to click on manage host networking and click next. Now we are going to click on attached hosts. We need to select our SA-ESXi02 vClass local. Let's click OK. Now we are going next. Here what we are going to do, we are going to choose our VMNIC2, which is associated with an uplink 1. Let's click on unassign adapter here and click on next. We can see a specified warning that one of our hosts have no assigned physical network adapters. It's okay. We specifically are going to do this right now. We are going to create some misconfiguration. So let's click on OK. And let's skip the manage VM kernel adapters. We don't need to do it right now. Let's not migrate any VM networking right now. Let's click on next and finish. So we have created some misconfiguration specifically. What we are going to do next, we are going to our menu, policies and profiles, host profiles. We are going to our basic host configuration host profile. Let's click on monitor. Let's click on our SA-ESXi02 vClass local and click on check compliance here. And what do we see? Our host again is in a non-compliant state. Let's click on it. And now we can see that we have some problem with virtual network settings. Uplink not connected to the expected physical NIC on DVS lab. So we can see this particular problem right now. So now let's remediate this issue. Let's select our SA-ESXi vClass local. Let's click on edit host customization. Now we are going to customize some information of this particular host. Let's click OK. What we are going to do next, we are going to click on pre-check remediation for this particular host. Let's wait a bit for this pre-check to complete. Okay. Now we are going to remediate the issue. What we are going to do, we are going to place our ESXi02 in a maintenance mode. So let's click on our SA-ESXi02. Let's right click on it and let's choose maintenance mode, enter maintenance mode. Yes, we are going to place this particular host to a maintenance mode right now. So let's click on OK. Now we can see by this icon that the ESXi host is placed to a maintenance mode. What we are going to do next, this host is ready to a remediation for a remediation. So let's check it and click on remediate button here. Yes, we are going to automatically reboot this host if we need it. So let's click on OK. And let's wait for a couple of seconds for this issue to be remediated. Now we can see that our host has been successfully remediated It is in a connected state, and now it's in a compliant host profile compliance state. Let's verify its networking configuration. So let's go to a menu, networking. Let's choose our DVS lab. Let's go to configure settings and topology. Let's unwrap our uplink number 1 for a DVS lab, DV uplinks 4013. And now we can see that our SA ESXi 02 vClass local is added here. So let's view settings of this host. And now we can see that the name of the physical adapter that is associated with this particular uplink is our VMNIC2, which we have previously removed from the networking configuration of our DVS for this particular host. Now, let's exit the maintenance mode of our ESXi host. Let's click on our ESXi host maintenance mode. Exit maintenance mode. Now our ESXi host is in a normal state. And now we are going to detach a host profile from this host. Let's go to a menu, policies and profiles, host profiles on the left navigation pane. Let's go to our basic host configuration. We can choose an action drop-down menu. Now we need to choose attach, detach hosts and clusters. We are going to uncheck our SA ESXi 02 vClass local. Let's click on save. And now it's detached. Let's return to a menu and home. And now our lab is completed. Congratulations, you have completed the using host profiles lab demonstration video. During this lab, we have seen how and where we can create, export and import a host profile, how we can duplicate and edit a host profile and attach an ESXi to a host profile, what do we need to do to run an initial compliance check to remediate a possible configuration drift, and finally, how we can detach a host profile. Thank you for watching this lab demonstration video. I hope the knowledge acquired here will help you with your daily job assignments, and good luck as you continue your journey in VMware world.